So, I wish I had recorded the last 5 years of my life. The reason for that is because these past 5 years have been absolutely explosive and really taught me what it is to live. I got married, I had two kids, and I really reconnected with some of the things that I found important to me. Back in 2020, I would say the person that was me then is fundamentally different than the current incarnation of me. It's just one of those things where, like, as time has gone on, I've found that there are more and more things that want to grab my attention or ask me to be a stronger version of myself. And the fact that I've overcame these sorts of issues or changed parts of my life to accommodate those challenges has really changed the whole like world that I live in. For a good example is I used to be so focused on getting a job that would pay well because I thought the more money that I would have and accumulate, the happier I'd be. Realistically, that was a very flawed mindset, but I didn't see it as such. I saw it as, like I'm just hustling, I'm trying to get that bread, I'm just trying to get the ability to make a really good life for myself. And for like 2 to 3 years, I just really focused on just day to day interactions. I skipped out on any fun. Like if people were to ask me, "Hey, you want to go hang out?" or "Hey, do you want to go spend money?" I'd be like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna be like focused on my grind." And I mean, that was back during COVID, so even more of a reason why I didn't want to hang out with people is like I didn't know if I'd get sick or whatever. So I just stayed away from people, kind of stayed up in a little shell where I would play like VR games. I would just play video games all day and then go to work and do nothing else. I mean, it's not like the worst life ever. It just wasn't fulfilling to me, right? Like I played a bunch of ranked games, got really good at Apex Legends, played some competitive Smash Bros, things like that, and like they were fun. They were fun. I'm not gonna talk trash on those sorts of pursuits because I do feel like there's some merit to improving upon yourself and the journey of getting good at something. The 2021 mark, I got married, and that was a big life shift. You go from doing everything your way, the things that you've been taught from your family, to then doing the same thing but with somebody else, right? Like what they've been taught, what they want in their house. You gotta talk about those things and really get into it. You also have to like come up with common goals with that other person, and that takes a lot out of you, especially if you are like reclusive or you want to be a private and whatnot, and the other person isn't. That's not to say that that's the case with me and my wife. We definitely both are very introverted people, and we got along really well. I feel like I had it pretty easy compared to most people. She brought a lot of quality of life, as it were, plants, uh, aesthetic choices that made the home feel like a home. I definitely looked like one of those people on Reddit where they had like the futon on the floor and just a TV. Except I had the benefit the benefit of inheriting a lot of my childhood furniture from my house that I took to my flat. So I at least had a desk that I was playing video games on. But I definitely was guilty of the first year that I lived in my own apartment, sleeping on a couch. I could have bought a bed, but I didn't. And then when I went to go visit my family, I took the futon I used to sleep on in high school. Shoot, I think it was middle school actually. And then put that on the floor and just slept on that for another year. Uh, Obviously, that wasn't gonna fly when I got married, so got a real bed to sleep in, and it was a nice king size bed before that was destroyed in one of our moves. Um, and then we had two kids in the span of like 2.5 years, and funnily enough, you think that you don't have enough time, that you're stretched thin, but in reality, you have a lot of time when you when you don't have kids. Like, it's insane how much time I had for every hobby. Up until I had my first kid, I was still playing competitive video games, and I closed out my last competitive year with a bang. Uh, had a good rank, and I felt pretty happy about that. But to try to do that stuff now with kids, nah, there's no way. There's literally no way. I can't fathom it. And it's not because like kids are just time sinks, right? But you got to think of it as you bring somebody into this world who has no idea how to do anything, and you have to teach them from like step one. That's including words. That's including how to clean themselves. That's including how to eat, all that stuff. And it does take a lot of time, but watching them grow and become their own person is so rewarding. Uh, I think I think if I would have been able to capture my state of mind in all these different events, it would have been extremely helpful for other people who are going through what I'm going through. I've talked to a lot of people about um, like home life, like what it means to get a job, what it means to get married and have somebody that you want to share life with, what it means to have kids, and I feel like everybody has such a unique experience, and I feel like I've had the privilege of doing a lot with a little. So I have a lot of friends that come to me and maybe they want to talk about graduate school or getting a job or how to date somebody. I always sit down and give them some pretty good advice, and it's all from experience. It's never from like extrapolations of things. It's kind of just like I feel like if I had it written down, I probably could give better, not sermons, but another word for that, like lectures to people and more specific examples about my life up until this point. I kind of want to just change that, like, for example, I learned how to keep myself with hobbies that I love, but also giving a majority of my time to other people. And obviously, other people in this instance is my kids, right? It's hard to game while having family, especially if you are working as well. It makes it to where, like, you have to treat your time differently. The games that you choose also have to accommodate your life, not the other way around. A good example for that is like live service games, for example. Live service games want you to play on their time or how they stratify their content. And that's not sustainable when you have to cook and do chores and all that. So the type of gaming that I do nowadays is on retro handhelds like the PS Vita, all that. And you'll hear me talk about that every so often, right? Because I am a big fan of old hardware and like vintage technology. Of course, some people might hear PS Vita or like PSP and think that that's not vintage, but some of our devices are like 20 years old now, even more so. I have a Super Nintendo, and that's a little, I think, as old, if not older than me, something along those lines. But like those vintage consoles, not to get into a long rant, but really, really have a good way of being games that respect your time. And like I could talk about that for an hour, but I'm not going to. Um, but I think this year I really want to be able to take my experiences or the things that I am trying and talk about them more in depth. So, for example, this year I'm going to be cutting out a lot of the remnants of social media in my life. During the pandemic, I got rid of things like Facebook. I never installed Musically, TikTok, so that program or app. I never got into like deep into a lot of different social media, but I got rid of my Instagram and Twitter and all that. So what was left for, at least what is left for this upcoming year, 2026, is to get rid of YouTube. As much as we don't like to believe, I do consider YouTube as a social media, especially now with the shorts and whatnot. I no longer would like to be a consumer of fast-paced media. I think I'd like to slow down. I found a certain joy in slow living, and I'd like to bring that forth into 2026. So, here's to 2026. I'd like to think of this as a public journal for me to finally get my inner creativity out. I feel like up until now, I've been a very private person who doesn't like to divulge what I think about. But I know there's a lot of wisdom hidden in the experiences that I have. And I'd like to document that. So I'm going to try to going forward.